Hello everyone, my name is Gabby, and welcome back to another Dragon Ball Super review, this time reviewing episode 65. With the combination of Black's rising power and Zamasu's immortality, the merged Zamasu's power and ego are unmatched. Goku and Vegeta take their best stands against him, but while they can attempt to counter him, they can't hurt him at all. Even when Trunks joins in, a Father-Son Gallick Gun combination doesn't leave a scratch, but Goku isn't giving up and fires a Kamehameha. So, what did I like about this episode? First of all, I really enjoyed kind of all the sort of god symbolism and stuff they were doing with the fused Zamasu. And the idea that, obviously, the whole point of Zamasu is that even if he is a god, he has a major god complex. Like, he's really egotistical and thinks he's the coolest thing ever and the most important and powerful thing ever. And now that he's fused with himself, it's basically just gone up to 11. Like, he has a giant halo on his back, he has summons giant weird bird things, he's like just floating there in the sky and just like shooting down like swords and pillars, and he's like naming all his attacks and sort of saying it's all like justice and everything like that. It definitely gives the fused Zamasu his own kind of identity. You might say that all of this symbolism is kind of blatant. It's like, okay, yeah, he's a god, he's egotistical, he thinks he's cool, we get it already, but I honestly really do appreciate it because Dragon Ball doesn't normally do symbolism in any way. Honestly, the fact that Zamasu himself is a villain who has more to him than just I want to be evil is pretty revolutionary in and of itself. So I honestly really enjoy everything they try to do to really sort of sell this idea of Zamasu being this god figure, wanting to be this god figure, and him just basically going overboard from it. Because what I like about this symbolism is, you can sort of read more into it. It feels like there's more to this story than just the basic level of fights. It feels like there is kind of subtext here, and it's interesting, it's subtle, it's like better storytelling. Now, I think that's basically always a positive for me. Another thing that I really liked about this episode is how it essentially sort of handled the whole, like, reveal of the whole big fused Zamasu thing, kind of from the point of view of the human resistance. Honestly, the inclusion of the human resistance has been probably one of the most interesting things I think this arc has done so far, and it's been really entertaining. Just the idea that you see this giant, enormous threat, like, not from the point of view as Goku and Vegeta, who are going to just be fighting them anyway, it's not such a big deal if they get stronger, but from these ordinary humans, from these people whose lives are in danger from Zamasu, and they know that it's going to, like, affect them. It just adds so much more to the arc, just seeing the plights of these, like, individual powerless humans when confronted with a threat like this big. It makes us really realize that Goku and Vegeta, and especially future Trunks, are fighting for more than just their own pride and to get stronger. There are people here, just ordinary members of the human resistance, who are trying to go around and live their own lives, and obviously that is not going to happen if they don't beat Zamasu. It just gives this arc an extra human element to it. It just makes it feel so much more emotional. Also, the really big fan service moment of this episode, and that is essentially the Vegeta and Trunks Gallick Gun combo. I've seen some people call it the Father-Son Gallick Gun, which is kind of sort of what it is. I really enjoyed that moment, and I know people might not expect that because I don't often like the Vegeta fan service moments, but I really liked this one because it was like, okay, on the one hand, it is kind of blatantly fan service and it was basically kind of blatantly ripping off the end of the Cell fight, but I really did enjoy it because we got to see Vegeta and Trunks interact on an honestly really important scale. I feel like we forget sometimes that Vegeta is Trunks' father. And that is a very significant connection there. And it's something that should be worth more than just something you should do in like episode 54 when they just train together for like one scene. Like it's a significant connection, and the fact that they addressed it and made it a really big emotional moment, I really liked that. It shows that these characters do have significant connections and do care for one another. If Trunks is in danger, Vegeta's going to step in, and sometimes might even kind of push himself in the way of a blast that was meant for Trunks and kind of sacrifice himself. It's nice. I don't know where that thing is going to lead to, but the fact that this happened in the first place I think is just really awesome. Also, probably going to forget this otherwise if I don't mention it now. So, Android number 8 had a cameo. That was interesting. Don't know why he's alive in that timeline, but that was cool. As for what I didn't like about this episode, this isn't exactly like a proper criticism, but the thing that kind of bugged me when I was watching this episode, it was just like, everything about fused Zamasu feels a little like video gamey. He names all of his attacks, like every single one of his attacks, where in Dragon Ball, characters generally don't name their attacks at all. It's normally the video game's job to name these attacks in the first place. And it's like all of his attacks are incredibly unique and really hard to differentiate from one another. It's just like, when I saw this, I thought, this kind of feels like this episode was almost written for Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3, so they could make a whole bunch of attacks and new supers and ultimates and new characters and stuff like that. The show isn't normally this blatant with it. The other thing is just that, this episode was kind of the premiere of the fused Zamasu, and while I do think, I guess it did show how Zamasu was a threat, in that, like, not only is he really powerful, but he's also immortal, so they can't actually fight him. The thing is, I almost kind of expected that, considering this was like a villain getting a power-up, I also thought it would be like accompanied by sort of things showing as to why this villain is more of a threat in terms of like the stakes. As if like now that he's serious and now that he's fused, he's going to sort of like move on to the next step of his Zero Mortals plan and do something that's going to directly affect everyone and like directly lead to the end of the world or something like that. Whereas in this case, like, he doesn't really change his motivations. His motivations are still kind of the same, even though he's gotten stronger. I just kind of expected something more. If you compare it to, say, Z, like, say, Cell, where it's like, when he reaches his perfect form, I mean, he still beats Vegeta, but after he beats Vegeta, he's like, okay, well now I'm going to make this tournament, and if you don't win this tournament, I'm going to kill every human being on the planet. Like, that automatically makes the stakes go up higher. Or Frieza, where he's like, when he's like in his final form, eventually he's like, okay, I'm going to blow up the planet, and now the planet only has 5 minutes left. Like, I felt like when we were going to get to like the end of this fight, they were going to do something to make the stakes go up a bit higher, and they haven't done that yet. Maybe they might do it later on, but they haven't done it yet, and I've just found that a little strange. As for next episode, oh my god, next episode looks amazing. Like, first of all, the animation is all on point. Apparently Naotoshi Shida is back, and that's gonna be awesome. Well, everything just looks really great, and obviously the big thing is Vegito! Vegito is here. He is here. He is the big climax of this arc. It seems like that's what everything was leading up to, and it's good because, like, this isn't a complete shock. Honestly, everyone has been predicting this for like months. They haven't done such a good job of hiding it, but so the fact it's coming next week, and it looks so good. And I know some people aren't that excited to see Vegito. I'm excited to see Vegito. Basically, ever since I realized the final fight is going to be a fight between 2 POTARA fusions. And that is really cool, and I have got all of my Steven Universe quotes ready to talk about next episode, because I feel like there's actually going to be something more to this fight, and it'll be fun and awesome. Why is it next week already? Why isn't it next week? Can I just skip ahead next week? So that was Dragon Ball Super episode 65. It was honestly a really fun episode. While Merch Zamasu may not have made as much of a big impact as I thought, he was still really creative and honestly quite interesting, and there were some really nice character moments for all of the characters, basically. I've just been really liking how they've been using all these characters together. Like, it doesn't feel like one person's overshadowing the others. Like, Goku's doing stuff, Vegeta's doing stuff, Future Trunks is doing stuff, Mai and Bulma and the Human Resistance are doing stuff, and it's actually been really fun, and I've been really enjoying this final fight so far. Last episode might have been kind of a disappointment, but this episode definitely made up for it. And I'm not just talking about the fan service moments, but I'm just waiting for next week. Just when is next week, guys? Like, it looks so good. It's like the climax of the arc. It seems like it's where all of the effort went to. It seems like it's what this entire arc has been leaning towards. And obviously, I'm just really, really looking forward to that. I hope it is great. I hope they don't screw it up, because basically I feel like if we're going to remember this arc for one thing besides, like, Future Trunks coming back, it's going to be for next episode, so I really hope it lives up to that expectation. It's a very high expectation to give an episode in general, but I do hope it is that good, because that would be great. So this is Gabby, signing out, and I'll see you all next week. Bye, guys!